S tier is like, I'm straight bull. When I get out the bed, I'm bull. Like, you know how like Super Noob came up in here and saying that Ram is a finesser? That's like the S tier bull right there. Yo, what is going on, everybody? We are back, and you already know I'm about to tell you guys right now. Support your boy, all right? All right, so today's video, the moment you all been waiting for, man. It is the tier list, right? We are the tier list master. So we went ahead and we talked about each character and why I placed all of these characters on the current list of the tier list, right? So before we jump into it, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel and let me know how you guys feel about Soul Bad Guy being the best character in the game. Because I already spoiled a little bit. He is the best character in the game. But let's jump into it right now. Look, there was a lot of people who's been asking me, right? They was like, yo, we ain't gonna make a tier list for this, right? I was like, you know, all right, we gotta make a tier list, but we gotta have the S. Should we have triple S? Triple S just for the f of it, right? Triple S. This individual has acknowledged that he is still the strongest character. I actually think that Soul is just like in his own tier. Maybe I should just make the S tier just Soul, right? Yeah, maybe I just do that. Right off the bat, we all know Soul is the strongest, right? I think with the changes that he got, everyone thought he got nerfed, but I don't actually see any nerf, to be honest with you. I think the Far Slash, I know that it made a couple of matchups a little bit more harder and things like that, you know, but I still think as a whole that he is like in his own like tier. And honestly, when games are being a little bit more like accessible, that the developers are calling it, their way of developing games is like you don't really need to prioritize matchup a lot because damage output is always so high. So as long as you do the damage, it doesn't matter how bad the matchup is, right? Especially if you have a lot of utility on top of damage. And Soul has a lot of utility on top of damage. So even though he might be in a tough spot, he can always hit you one time. Even though he does have some matchups that are pretty hard, his utility is just so strong. You don't think he loses to any character? Wow, that's actually impressive. That's impressive because you're honest. I think you're the only Soul player that says that. Probably Dab thinks the same way too, and Ventus. Yeah, other Soul's just mad aggressive, I agree. You know, actually, Punk, I was actually thinking about switching to Soul. Because I actually think this character and this character are very similar, but just this character has way more utility. I actually like a lot of this utility stuff. With that being said, this character, still very strong. I don't care if people say that the May command grab was a nerf. I don't think it was a nerf whatsoever. Her 5H is still obnoxious. One of the most strongest, now it's one of the most strongest buttons in the game. Because not only that, it has no hurt box and it has short recovery, it counter hits almost everything in the cast, including jabs. Another thing I'm making this character strong is because I feel like her matchup spread is also very good. I can't really like pick a character and be like, oh my god, May play this character, she may never win the round, ever. She's almost just as well-rounded as Soul. She doesn't have like Dragon Punch and things like that, so obviously being put on her back is, you know, kind of rough. I think she's like this character, and let's bring this character out too. Leonardo. I actually think this character may loses to a lot of characters in a lot of aspects, but the way this character plays the game, once he kind of hits you, the matchup is out the window. He's almost like a grappler, right? So like, you know, when a grappler gets like in a certain range and like the matchup is out the window, you don't play the matchup anymore. It's like, yo, you're just playing pray to God that I'm wrong. He's always going to have the upper hand, right? When he hits you one time. And then on top of his upper hand, he has ways to always have consistent high damage. Honestly, I think his damage mid-screen is actually better than his damage in the corner. Inside and back turn stance, right? When he gets the back turn stance and he gets like the loop, he gets his strongest setup is in mid-screen because he doesn't break the wall and he goes into back turn stance. His sweep is like -5 and it's technically punishable. Being -5 in this game is actually not that bad. And the reason why I say that is because not a lot of characters can even get like the sweet spot to like get their punish off to like stop you from doing something because of the pushback so bad. Yeah, you get like a max range jab punish. So even though you get like a actual like hit, you actually are just making yourself be in more of a scramble situation. So moral story of Leo is like, there is some matchups that I think he struggles against, but again, his utility also just makes it where you don't have to deal with his matchups. We're gonna talk about Nago, right? But I definitely think he's S. But we're gonna talk about a character that I actually think who's like everyone is just not talking about. But this is like the most ABC character in the game, and literally this character can just smoke you anywhere, anytime. And that's Ramathar. No one talks about how godlike this character is, because all of these characters' damage output is just as high, right? But this character is actually crazy. She beats literally most of these characters that is not even here. And I think she gives May a hard time too. Not only that this character is still strong, they made her mid-screen game even stronger. They made some of her special attacks even more stronger. And then on top of that too, her block strings is like very, very simple. You throw the sword, follow-up explodes, you have frame advantage. You try to jump out, her jump jab hits so obnoxiously like wide that it's very hard to escape, especially being a big character in the air. I realize that a lot of characters actually can't really get out of that. And because you block in the air, you're actually extremely plus as the Ram player. Her matchup sheet is so strong, her damage output is so strong. She can just randomly kill you. Baby. Flexible. These are all flexible characters in its order. These are all flexible characters. Which goes to my next character right here. And the reason why I chose Giovanna, honestly, because if you look at these two characters, one thing that I would say that you would need for every situation is movement. And her movement is unreactable in this game. She has way more utility than both of these characters. Even though these characters are also God tier. Her damage, ham, her normals, very, very easy to confirm. Her Oki from any situation is hard knockdown. It's like Goldlewis, but have better rank, better speed. I think characters that might give her a hard time is like what, Ino? Maybe Nagori Yuki, maybe. Probably go 5-5. Yeah, her biggest weakness is like what? She don't have a reversal option? Like a real one? She has all of the frame advantage that she needs. She is not hard to play. She has a 4-frame normal. It now combos into 6P. It also combos off of her, the 214K. And she has auto time meetings. Her damage output anywhere on the screen is extremely high. Gio isn't that godlike until you think of her matchup spread. Honestly, when I'm thinking about it, I don't think would she lose to really anybody left hand. I thought maybe Potemkin, Nagori Yuki, maybe Ino, and maybe Soul. And a lot of people in the chat are saying, honestly, the hardest matchup is Soul. Maybe she doesn't win a lot of matchups like outrightly. But you know what's crazy? It's like I still think characters that could just go even or slightly advantage against characters is also still strong. Which brings to my next character that I think too. I think this character is broken, bro. I swear, I want to switch these two characters so bad. But the only reason why I'm not honestly is because, you know, like I feel like meterless Pot is actually pretty not as obnoxious. Because Pot with meter gets a free Garuda off any time when he has meter. It's a free Garuda. That's one of the only reasons why. It's literally because of a meter. It's just meter. If everybody could just choose to just sacrifice their burst gauge in the beginning for 100 meter, I would put him like over here, bro. Like no cap, but like it's actually just crazy. I'm telling you, the moment he touches you, he goes from like here to here automatically. Only reason why I think it's busted, and I explained to you, is because you can cancel it off normals. For a move that allows you to be plus 19, should not be cancelable off normals. It is a better Fafnir, times 3. And you could Kara it. Just read the Potemkin player like the Quran. What does Pot have against people jumping anyway? I know he has no options, right? He didn't just get a move buff that gives him 25% risk gauge. You understand how much meter that shit builds, right? By the way, chat, it builds 25%. You understand that, right? Just jump it. Well, you know what he did? He jumped from number 6 to number 5, bro. I'm going to keep jumping. Yep. He jumped from number 6 to number 5, bro. Nagori Yuki is definitely godlike too. Honestly, the only reason why I didn't put him over these characters is because you do have to think about a little bit of the blood rage. You don't have an air dash, but you know you have a move that is also an air dash and a movement option. So, and you're plus at a lot of ranges. Yes, Nago definitely feels like he doesn't even have a blood gauge with the buff, which is another thing that, you know, I'm going to talk about. But you know where that requires? It requires you to have 50 meters. So I'm gonna give it a little bit little bit of props, you know, just a little bit. I think a lot of matchups actually just cooks this character, right? I do feel like you can snowball this character. Depending on the character you play, you could snowball this character. He can snowball you too, but you can also snowball him as well. How is he S tier then? Easy. Because he's better than almost all these characters in a lot of situations. If he command grabs you, the game is over. And then the moment you get touched one time, the game is over. But anyways, this is the top 7, right? And I think we have one more S tier. And that S tier is also Chip. I think his matchup sheet is pretty good, but the problem is like, I feel like a lot of like Chip stuff is actually like super godlike the moment he breaks the wall. Even with the wall break, I still like think those changes actually hinder him a bit. Positive bonus Chip is actually what I'm thinking about a lot when I think about if he can beat these characters right now. But I have to think about it as like, you don't get those all the time. And if the player's really good, they're going to make you work for that. But even though these matchups are like, you know, you can still fight. Like, I still feel like you can still win with the character. Like, way more consistent than most of the characters that are like, we haven't named yet. I actually think he can still be consistent overall, personally. I personally believe that. So this brings to the next character. Who is holding the pillar of the top tiers and the middle and the low tiers? I have this character, I have this character, I have this character. The reason why I'm saying Axel is because I feel like he's holding the middle as like, yo, if you ever have me in the pocket for a lot of characters, I can win it. He's like holding the pillar. He's like, yo, I'm holding this for everybody. Like, I feel like that's where he's placed at. He can also lose to a lot of characters too. I think he can struggle a bit, but I think he can still win, right? Amelia is very strong. I would put Amelia over Eno versus the cast any day of the week. Matchup spread, really good. Very good in the air. Very good on the ground. Set play is extremely like, once you get a certain hit at a certain range, it is party time. Left, right, 4-way, and a throw. And the best part about it is it loops itself. I think her offensive toolkit is the most stable versus most of the cast. I think her neutral is risky. Honestly, I think her neutral is risky. I don't think her neutral is good, to be honest with you. The neutral is not what I'm afraid about. It's the knockdown I'm the most afraid about. And you know, some characters don't even have a fast enough DP to actually reversal. Like, I think Kai and somebody else don't have a fast enough DP to get out of her setup. They still get hit. You know, her changes has made her really good. I think the reason why she can never be like this right now, the characters that are up here have better neutral than her, and they also do the same thing she does. But because she doesn't have neutral, it makes it harder to, like, you know, establish yourself, right? Her neutral is like RPSing. That is her whole like meta game, right? It's like, I'm going to throw all these options at you, and if you're wrong, I am going to kill you. Fighting Eno is like a very like mashy matchup, right? It's like you have to kind of mash against her. Like, it's actually like if you just sit there and just kind of like let her do things and try to react to everything, it's like you're gonna have a hard time. But you have to challenge her a lot. You have to really challenge her a lot. Even though like you have to kind of do that against her, like the only thing you want to be afraid of is like a lot of her dives. The dives are the ones that get all the reward mid-screen. But you get looped if you get hit by sweep into like the high-low. Also, her matchup spread, I wouldn't say it's the strongest, but I definitely think that the moment that she puts you in the situation that she kind of wants to play the game, where she wants to play the game at, I don't think she has to think about matchups anymore. I think all she got to do is like, yo, do you have a reversal option? Okay. Which brings to the next character. Kai. We are no longer a clown, ladies and gentlemen. Honestly, I think if the change is what I think it is, if they give him a good projectile and they do like cool adjustments to like jump D, I actually think he's going to be better than these characters. But the problem is his fireball game is just so underwhelming and so extremely risky to do that it's a toolkit that is unexplored and underdeveloped right now, and it can't be developed because you lose the game if you do. A lot of these characters that are above him, I either think he loses or go evens with, or he slightly beats. But it's not like he outclasses them. He don't outclass the characters. And I also think like another thing too, why I'm putting Kai up here as well is because I do think that when Kai's like stun dipper, when he has meter, like he actually just goes up to a different tier. We have meter and he has stun dipper because of the stun dipper burst, because it goes like across it goes across screen and has running momentum. I actually think his stun dipper is actually like brain dead. Anyways, next character, my boy Otto, bro. I actually think this character can actually beat all of these matchups if he gets you at the certain condition that every Otto asks for. Without Eddie, with only jabs, the moment you kill Eddie, his character goes so weak. He is so weak, bro. Yeah, his jabs are crazy, but like, is a jab going like, are you losing the game because of a jab? When I watch a lot of Eddie plays, I feel like the moment Eddie dies, I feel like he only has one button. All his other buttons just get disabled because it's so risky. His 5H is great, but you have to think of like all these characters' other buttons that are also as great. You got to understand, like, Zato, for a Zato character, is great. But is it great against Nagori Yuki? Is it great against this character? Is it great against that character? You got to ask yourself, is it great in compare of these characters? Yes, it's great by itself. But is it great versus these characters? You got to ask yourself that. So I actually think, like, Zato can beat all of these characters, right? The moment he gets started and like that. But the problem is, I don't think he wins these matchups. But is he a bad character? No, absolutely not. He's not a bad character. Not a bad character whatsoever. But when you look at the matchup sheet, it's terrible. Goldlewis. This character, bro. In this Behemoth Typhoon, Goldlewis does not accept down players. So if you like to downplay in this chat, you will get banned in this Behemoth Typhoon. I don't think his matchup sheet is like godlike, but you know what's godlike about Goldlewis? Good luck bursting him, good luck yellow RCing him, and good luck evading all of his normals. His poking game is actually outrageous, and it's plus on block. If he wants to reduce your FD meter, he machine guns you. If he wants to reduce your life bar, you don't FD the machine gun, he reduces your life bar. Bro, he always has a way to peel down your resources. Yep, medium behemoth is like Omega plus. I lose, you blocked it. Exactly. The reason why I wouldn't put him up there is because all of his moves, even though they guard break, it pushes you back. It pushes you back too far. That's the problem. Which just brings to the next character, bro. My boy Loust. The Loust and Found is here. I don't think he's the worst character in the game anymore. I also think that his changes are pretty good, but I feel like he is very situational. I think him versus the matchup against a lot of cats is a very situational thing. Like, I don't think if I put Faust on the board that he's gonna like beat all of these characters. But I think if you could peel these characters out, I think he could give a run for his money. In the grand scheme of things, he's just too hard. He's just too hard. Too hard. You know, when I look at like Soul versus Faust, May versus Faust, you know, you could argue that. Leo versus Faust, I don't know. He's definitely a counterpick character, yes. But the problem is I feel like even if he's a counterpick character, you know, there's an easier character that you could counterpick with the character that he beat. For example, if you want to use Faust against, like, for example, like Zato, why would you play Faust when you could play Axel? You get what I'm saying? Which brings me to my next character, man. Anji's matchup sheet, I don't think his matchup sheet changed as much as it should have. He has ways to fight, but it's not like drastic, right? It's not a drastic change, like drastic, right? But I do feel like his setup's gotten better. But it went from like 6-4 to like 5.5 their favor. He's not winning a lot of these matchups, you know? Like, he still has to make big reads and big guesses, right? And then also, like, the Fusion change with the whiff, it didn't really change a lot because you can still react. And in a game where, like, everyone's taking, like, medium risk, high reward, he's taking high risk, high reward. So, like, it really doesn't really favor him as much against characters that if you hit them one time, you win. I do think pressure gotten better with Anji. Like, you know how like Anji had a hard time chasing? I think the changes made his chasing better. And that actually keeps from B tier to A tier. It's now he could keep the tempo, which is the problem. but his tempo is not like, it's not a drastic change like what Stundipper did. So overall, can you win a 1st-to-1? I don't know. Which brings me to the last character. Okay, so look, honestly, I don't really have a lot of experience with this character. So I am going by what I feel for what I experience, but I don't really have the top-notch experience. So for this where I put her, just please, you know, bear with me. But I think this character is right here. Skill ceiling is very high, I think, and personally. I've watched people play her. I don't really have that much experience, but I watch people play her. And I actually think that she's very, very good. Overall, how I feel about this version is I feel like this is a very balanced version. The way of the atmosphere of this game is very easy for any of these characters to win. The tier dictate whether or how hard it is to win for them. A+ is like you have a lot of bull, but obviously you don't have the same amount of bull that S has, but you have some bull. S tier is like I'm straight bull. When I get out the bed, I'm bull. Like, you know how like Super Noob came up in here and saying that Ram is a finesser? That's like the S tier bull right there. That's the type of bull that these characters have.